I'd like to ask everybody just to take a deep breath in and out. Now, I'd further like you to continue that breath. Turn your cameras on, please, as Chris has explained, but especially for this exercise, very important. If you can have your camera on, even if you're in your pajamas, or for the guys, if you have no shirt on, it's okay. Just turn your camera on so we can breathe together. Breathe in and out. And for those of you still hesitating to turn your camera on, I'll explain briefly why it's so important. Please type in the chat the number of people you think you impact in your life. And this should be a pretty high number for those of us who are speakers, right? Because right now, I'm impacting 30,000, 300,000 people, because each of these 30 people on this call, breathe in and breathe out. Each of the people on this call have hundreds or thousands of people that you impact every day. So please do type in the chat, how many people do you think you impact in your life? Charlotte, many is not a number, but it's a good start. So keep breathing while I tell you a little story about myself. So I started using marijuana when I was a teenager, and by my early 20s, I was smoking a lot of it, like 2 or 3 joints a day, every day. And it got a lot worse later. But I especially loved marijuana because it made me feel inspired. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. When I was 27 years old, I spent 4 months in this Moravian village, writing my second novel, getting high all day, and being amazed at how great my work was. Now, this is, side point, Moravia is a region east of Prague, famous for its wine, and I drank a lot of that as well. Of course, the work I did while I was high wasn't usually that great, in fact, and the effort and inspiration may have ruined that novel a lot more than it helped it. Why am I talking about inspiration anyway to a bunch of public speakers? Well, we all have to come up with ideas for our talks. We all have to come up with ways of getting ourselves to feel excited when we're speaking and transmit that excitement to the, according to some people, a few thousands or millions or 2 million for Joe, right? To transmit that energy and inspiration to all of those people. So for years, I thought the way it worked was inspiration came from the outside. When I was stuck, the best way to get out of it was visit the ocean or stay up late at night or smoke a lot of marijuana. So stop and think about it for a moment. Please think about what inspires you the most. Type that in the chat, please. And keep taking breath. So we're going to quickly today look at 2 questions. One, does creative inspiration come from inside or outside of us? And secondly, how can we actually be inspired all the time? Right at the very end, there's a twist to the tale that will really, I hope, find interesting. So if for some reason you have to leave early, I suggest you make a friend on this call right now so they can fill you in afterwards. So again, please type in the chat what inspires you the most. Now, keep breathing in and out. And consider a couple of quotes. William Blake said, "I myself do nothing. The Holy Spirit accomplishes all through me." Johannes Brahms says, "Straight away the ideas flow in upon me directly from God." And of course, most importantly, the man in black, Johnny Cash, said, "Creative people have to be fed from the divine source." In other words, inspiration comes to us from an outside force. And for most of history, creativity has been thought of this way. In fact, in ancient Greece, art was called techne, the root of the words technique and technology, which means making things. Literally, in ancient Greece, they had no term corresponding to the word create or creator. Plato asked in the Republic, should we say of a painter that he makes something? And his answer to himself was, certainly not. He merely imitates. The understanding of art was that nature is perfect and subject to laws, and so man had to discover laws, not create them. The artist was a discoverer, not an innovator, not an inventor. So it was obvious that creative inspiration came from the outside. If you think about it, it's pretty normal, right? You ever say something like, I don't feel inspired today? I don't know how to get inspired right now. I only get inspired when, for example, I'm helping people, or, gosh, look at this Public Speaker Association in the chat. Like, so many people are saying helping other people is what inspires you, right? So, a lot of people say what inspires them is a certain time of day. And here's an interesting question you can also add in the chat. What time of day inspires you the most? The morning, the night, middle of the night, the evening? And, when I was writing my second novel, other ways I had forced myself to get inspired was to ride up and down on a bus or a tram, or sit for 12 hours without leaving my chair, right? Sometimes that worked, sometimes it didn't work so well. Then one day I came across a quote from Jack London, where he said, you can't wait for inspiration to happen. You have to go out after it with a club. And I fell in love with that quote because it gave me a different perspective. Inspiration was up to me, not an outside force. And there's another quote supposedly from another American writer, William Faulkner, who definitely didn't say this. But what he was supposed to have said was, I only write when I am inspired. Fortunately, I'm inspired every day at 9 a.m. So the point was clear. Inspiration doesn't come from outside, it comes from within us. Now, the idea that creativity could come from within us at all only started in the Enlightenment about 300 years ago, right? And by the 19th century, through the Renaissance and afterwards, it became the opposite. Inspiration could only come from inside. Now, in the 20th century, we began to discuss creativity in science, right? Quantum theory, theoretical physics. And this began to change the nature of how we saw things in a radical way. Are you still breathing? Breathe in and breathe out. It's hard to tell. So many people not showing their faces because we really want to see you breathing. Your camera's off. Please turn it on and breathe with us. So this is, representation of the Renaissance. But now I want to take you through a really fast run through 10 things that will change the way you see inspiration forever. Number one is this. This is where I really need to see people. We all know that in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God and the Word was God, but there's a problem with this. Everybody breathe in and then breathe out all the way. And when you get to the end and you have no air left, you can turn your mic on for this. Try to say something. Breathe out and then try to say something when you have no air in your lungs.
Well said, Mike.
Okay. So if you think about it, there's something before the word, and that is breath. You can't speak without breathing first, right? So actually in the beginning is the breath. Inspiration must precede creation. If you're not inspired, you cannot create. Secondly, inspiration is automatic, right? If you try to breathe in, if you breathe in and hold your breath, let's try this. Everybody breathe in as deep as you can and then hold your breath. Don't breathe out, just keep holding your breath, everybody. Now look around the room, look at the people holding your breaths, right? Budimir Shobot is a swimmer and free diver, holds the world record for breath holding at more than 24 and a half minutes. Now the average person, most of us, go into medical distress in like 2 minutes. So I don't know how this guy did 24 and a half, but after 5 or 6 minutes, if you manage to hold your breath that long, your body will knock you unconscious to force you to breathe. Keep holding your breath. Don't breathe out. You can try to avoid being inspired, but you'll see in a few minutes at best, you can't do it very long. Eventually, you have to breathe out and your body will breathe in again. See, inspiration is not an effort. It's automatic, right? Inspiration, breathing in, and breathing out is expiration, but we use that word differently, right? So inspiration number 3 automatically creates. You feel the nutrition of breathing in, right? And when you breathe out, you're putting a creation into the world. And this is a very important point. Inspiration automatically creates output, whether you like it or not. And this deals with a basic lie about creativity that some people have, that everyone is not creative because all of us are. Science tells us it's true. We're all born creative, just like we're all born knowing how to breathe somehow. Keep holding your breath. You still holding your breath? Anyone still, raise your hand if you're still holding your breath. You didn't follow instructions. So the point is this, blocking your creative inspiration is the same as blocking your physical inspiration. It doesn't last long and cannot work well. Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway, another American writer, sorry, there's bias here, he said famously, the first draft of anything is shit. And, most successful creative people know that most of our output is waste. Up to 80% of what I write or more is rewritten. You guys know that if you're a writer. More than that of what I've shot as a filmmaker is never seen by anyone but the editor. The idea that we need to think about what's coming out is silly. It automatically creates. Fourth, inspiration feels good. Of course it does, right? Because it's the first half of the cleansing process. We bring in nutrients, breathing in, oxygen and nitrogen mostly, and when we breathe out, there's a massive outflux of carbon monoxide. This helps the plants. So breathing feels good. It cleans us out. Creativity feels good too, right? That's why creativity has been shown to increase lifespan, reduce the risk of dementia, increase intelligence, and even strengthen the immune system. Go ahead and type yes in the chat of being creative makes you feel good. Now, number 5, inspiration is a cycle, right? Key point, when you breathe in, you eventually have to breathe out. Getting inspired is directly related to your output. This is critical to understand. If you don't breathe in, be inspired, you can't create. But if you don't breathe out, create, you can't breathe in, get inspired. One of the easiest ways to inspire yourself is simply to create. Number 6, inspiration is a collaboration. Because here's the question, when you were holding your breath and you had to let it go, did the outside force the air into you or did you pull the air in? Hard to know, right? When you're really at the edge of things, holding your breath is hard. But normally you don't even pay attention that you're breathing. So is it you that's breathing or is it the outside breathing you? Well, the answer to that is simple. Inside and outside are really the same thing. It's a collaboration between the inside and the outside. The air is moving, but who's doing it? We don't know. It's a collaboration between you and the universe. Trees need us. We need trees. Now, we benefit from being creative, but everyone else benefits from us being creative. There's a woman named Amma. She's a saint from India. She says there's no difference between the creator and creation, just as there is no difference between the ocean and its waves. So what we can lose sight of too easily is that the way we benefit the world is the way the world benefits us, even when our creativity seems like shit. Now, number 8 important, outside is inside, right? Look at the list of things that inspire people and the times that inspire people. Some people are inspired by helping others. Some people are inspired by the beach. Some people are inspired in the morning, some people in the evening. So if you think about that and look at it, you realize that nothing is actually inspiring. The beach isn't inspiring. 8 a.m. isn't inspiring. It's you that's inspired by that. Inspiration is actually 100% inside. It seems they had it wrong all those years. So if you're inspired in the morning more than at night, it's really important to realize that that's just you. It's not the morning. And if you can inspire yourself in the morning, why can't you inspire yourself at night too? As Thomas Edison said, creativity is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. So here's really the key to it all, right? Number 9, don't worry about inspiring yourself. Look at inspiring others instead. Think about this. If you have to just inspire other people, does inspiring yourself seem difficult? If you look at the thousands or millions of people you impact, or the dozens or hundreds of people you're talking to in a speech, if your thought is on them and how to inspire them, you'll be inspired automatically. Because inspiration truly is as simple as breathing. So please just breathe in and breathe out. And I'm going to give you the last very important thing. It's a quote from a British writer named G.K. Chesterton. He says, never invoke the gods unless you really want them to appear. It annoys them very much.